Yeah, let me just get some water. Okay, now I want to sow out some more. I have containers here, and I want to get started with everything. If you have general questions, just write them in the comments. I'm happy to rant off topic, whatever. Talk about God in the world. I'm at the point in my life where if I only talk about cacti, I'm too bored. So yeah, I'm open for all kinds of like questions. Happy to give you my opinion. Just doing stream, talking among friends, that kind of stuff, you know. Also important in life. So yeah, just in my little like cabin thing here, besides the wood oven, everything's nice and warm. I think I finally worked out how the oven works after like 15 years, or I don't know, 12 years. Yeah, and today we're sowing out a few more seeds that I have here. Yeah, and then we'll see what we do. Maybe check on the other seedlings. Right. And in this stream, we will just sow out random stuff. In this case, we're sowing out cactus seeds. Hey, Maria. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So, I'm in the middle of sowing out a little bit. I want to continue. We still have a whole lot of like seedling containers that we planted. But yeah, it's also important that we do this stuff together on camera. So yeah, we continue sowing out at least for a little bit longer. At some point, we will just discuss the seedlings that we've sown out, maybe. But for now, we will do a few more containers until we have to stop because we're out of space. But right now, everything's looking good. And yeah, welcome to everyone who joins us in the stream. If you have questions, send them in. If not, we are just continuing sowing out. And I want to check my crate here that I have with all these seeds. There's some more stuff that I haven't even considered or started like sowing out. Yeah, seedlings look great. Someone's asking, hey mate, someone's asking what BTS, never heard of it. No idea what that is. Maybe if you spell it out, I might be able to help, but just with that, no idea what it is. So yeah, the seedlings are coming along nicely. Maybe a month old, some of them, some others maybe 2 weeks old. Oh, it's Korean boy band. No, I don't know that kind of stuff. I stopped listening to new music maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. I just didn't feel so much of it was made with auto-tune at that time. I'm not sure if it's still like that, but I just didn't feel home in music anymore. That kind of, I don't know, I haven't heard like the real classics anymore lately in any kind of modern music. I mean, sometimes I listen to songs and there's still good stuff coming out, you know, but I don't want to spend all that time looking for it anymore. I mostly listen to a few bands here and there, newer bands that I already knew, whose sound I already know, and mostly old school music. I guess I'm someone who, like, you know, all those older people that listen to classic rock songs and all that. I guess I'm like that too now. It is what it is. Okay, so let's continue here. Sowing out. And this was, where's the bag now? I had the bag here. Yeah. This was a cross from 2024 Uwe Kahler hybrid, and the hybrid is called OTO. I'm not sure like what it means, if it stands for anything, but it has ruffles. And the father is a hybrid by Ingo Bartels between Gräserserfolg Selbstbestäubung and Despa, also ruffled. So both parents are ruffled, and I suspect that I don't know, the offspring will be ruffled too. That is probably very likely. Whether or not it will have good color, we will see that. But yeah, let's find some labels here. I really hope I still have some. Okay. And yeah, let's get these things started so we can show them over the winter. I want to have a certain amount of seedlings ready, that they are big enough after winter. So it's often important to start sowing out around this time now, maybe until December. A lot of experienced breeders sow out in December. If that's their winter season. I mean, if you live in a country where it's the opposite, of course, you sow out maybe 2 or 3 months before your summer. Like in Australia, where they have are going into the warm season now. In that case, you would do it a little bit earlier, before the season begins, a few months before, so you have time to grow the seedlings under a lamp or indoors. So yeah, OTO crossed with KA24 57 OTO ruffled crossed with BS16 46 39 KA1 Erfolg SB mal Despa X Despa. Okay. So now we've sown out some seeds. They are just sprinkled on top of the soil. Cactus seeds need a little bit of light. Yeah, I don't know the mother, but I know what kind of a plant the father is in this cross. And it's one of these very ruffled Gräser hybrids. And it involves Despa too. Despa is a kind of Dessau or Wörlitz follow-up hybrid, also interesting. So that is a good cross. I really like that. Has potential. And yeah, I mean, at this point, we might run out of space. So we'll see how that goes, how we will do with that. Okay. Now the next one. And again, happy to answer general questions if you run into problems yourself when growing them, when growing stuff on your part of the world, wherever if you are sowing out with us and run into trouble, let us know so we can help. Okay. This is a Uwe Kahler hybrid, and it's called Kakum, and it's colorful. When Uwe writes this, it's usually very, very nice kind of color. I like that. And the father is a hybrid called KA19-204-1 from the cross Flying Saucer crossed with Liskes Prachtstück and Gräserserfolg SB Cantora Gelb. So a lot of great parents involved in this one too. Once again, I think the goal of the cross is to get colorful and ruffled. So the mother has color and the father comes in with the ruffles, and that is a great combination that can produce some really good colors, some really good flowers like that, like the stuff that I see from Alexander Shogadilla. These beautiful ruffled Wörlitz follow-up hybrids that are so colorful. yeah, that kind of stuff can really be nice. So let's write the label. Writing the label always takes forever here because they are so long. Numbers and names. It's hard to understand sometimes. Took me a long time. And I'm still feeling like all these numbers are overwhelming. So the father is KA19 204-1. Flying Saucer crossed with Liskes Prachtstück crossed with Erfolg SB Cantora. Lots of different parents. Yeah, I mean, the ruffled flowers are great. I'm a fan of the ruffled flowers too. But it is kind of difficult to use them for breeding because a lot of them are self-fertile or have these self-fertile tendencies at least. So very often when you try to make a cross between a ruffled one and one that brings in more color, the offspring looks very much like the ruffled one. So you need to make the right choice, like in the kind of cross that you make. Not all of them are self-fertile, but some of them are, and that means you need to find out which ones are self-fertile, because these would only produce the same kind of flower that they self have or similar. You know, they often go into the same direction in regards to the colors. So it can be difficult to get really colorful flowers with them. But yeah, that's just that's part of being a breeder. You need to learn about the plants that you use. You need to learn how to use them, and by breeding a few years and seeing how the offspring looks like, you will find out which one of your hybrids or which one of your plants are just not so good for breeding, which ones will continuously produce the same kind of offspring, you know. And when that happens, or when you see that a plant often sets a fruit without being pollinated even, that can tell you that it's self-fertile. And that can be a deal breaker for making crosses. Willis Gerüchte, I do know. I have one, actually. I have a big plant of Willis Gerüchte. That is one of those Gräser follow-up hybrids. By Willy Hans, I think, is the breeder. But it hasn't flowered for me yet. And I have looked at photos, and the flower is nice, you know. But I really have to see it in reality to know if I want to keep it or not. I almost sorted it out last year because it still hadn't flowered, and I have it for a few years. I often give the plant maybe 3-4 years, and if it hasn't flowered by then I often sort stuff out. So I really hope that next year it will flower so I can make a decision if I want to keep it or not, you know. But ruffled flowers are often great, and that one has a nice flower too. I just do not know how nice exactly, because there are a lot of differences with these Gräser hybrids. This year, for the first time, I have shown a hybrid called what was it called? Eckert's Schönste, by Karl Eckert. That's a breeder. I think he's no longer with us, and that hybrid has a beautiful reddish flower, incredibly nicely ruffled and nice colors. The best red color in a ruffled hybrid that I have seen, and that is the kind of the standard right now in my collection with the ruffled hybrids. If something isn't as good as that one, it makes no sense to keep it, because I could just, you know, keep another plant of that one around. But it also depends on how they are able to pass down their genetics into the next generation. You know, that that other hybrid, that Willis Gerüchte, might as well be a great parent, you know, and I just can't tell because it never flowered so far here. I've only seen it on photos, and it has a nice flower on the photo, but you always need to see it yourself. It's just a thing that is important, because a plant can look rather boring on a photo, and if you see it in reality, it blows you away. I kind of had that with flying saucer. You know, I've seen photos of flying saucer, and on the photos that I looked at, it didn't really strike me as incredibly impressive, you know, in regards to the color. But then I've seen that thing open up wide, like 23 centimeters maybe, and the flower looked so amazing. Also with other flowers, there were 3 flowers at once. So you sometimes need to see the flowers with your own eyes to know if you want to work with them long term or not. So yeah, looking forward seeing Willis Gerüchte too. My plants may be this big. I feel like it should start to flower now. Okay, so where's the bag here? So I want to really sow these out, because when the label says something like colorful by Uwe Kahle, then he really means colorful. He really means it's a nice, amazing plant. So yeah, I always appreciate when he sends me stuff and I try to sow it out. I mean, when you get good seeds, you just have an obligation to the breeder too, in a way. Oh, you just started collecting again 2 months ago? Wow, I mean, on one hand, it allows you to start fresh, because there's so much great stuff now that we didn't have 10 years ago. So right now, I'm sure you will have no problem getting that collection back up, because there are so many good plants around, you know. And the community often sticks together. If you're a member in cactus groups, people often trade. So I'm sure you will get back to it. I've been at that point too. When I lost the collection to frost, like when the heater broke. And yeah, look, I mean, today I have rebuilt, and I have rebuilt in ways that I didn't think possible. It's just a matter of growing again, giving yourself time. Like all these cacti, they need a little bit more time, but that's okay. We will give it to them. They will eventually, when they flower in 7 years or in 5 years, they will reward us with the flowers. And you know, also when you're starting fresh, you have space. So start sowing out, because sowing out is something that can bring you all these unique plants that nobody else has. Nobody. When you're sowing from seeds, you get something that only you have, and that is something that I really enjoy about sowing out. So yeah, good time to start fresh. We never know. Maybe if one day I decide to move abroad, then I will have to start fresh again too. And I would do that. I would just take my seeds with me, and everything else, I would give it time, a few more years, and then I have a lot of plants again, you know, if I ever move to a warmer country. We're all starting fresh at some point or something. Okay. KA 19204-1. Flying Saucer, Liskes Prachtstück, N. Gräsers Erfolg, Selbstbestäubung N. Cantora. These are all incredibly great parents. Really nice. None of these sound like it's mediocre. And that is the type of stuff that you should sow out. Nothing else, because space is so limited. So getting something great for your space is the right use of it. Okay, so now we do another one. I really want to sow all of them out. maybe with 2 more containers. This is the kind of cross that I really want to sow out. Okay, let's put these in here, and then we have a few more. I just wish I had a way to write the labels automatically, like a printer. I really need to get me one of those. Might not be a bad thing. I like to do stuff old school and write the labels, but at some point with all these parents involved, you're starting to lose the interest to write. Like after the 5th or 6th kind of parent that's in the cross, you kind of lose interest to list them all. So maybe I need a printer at some point. Okay. One here. Always sprinkling the seeds on top of the soil. Very important. I really want to stress this because cactus seeds need light to germinate, and when they are covered, they often don't come up again, or you lose them because they will not get to the soil. So don't cover cactus seeds. Yeah, there has been a lot of progress in the cactus community in the last 10 years, and it's also, I mean, it's for one in regards to just botanical or just crosses between hybrids of white flowering columns, but also it is on, like, a lot of American breeders or Australian breeders have gotten a lot of great plants from all over the world, and they're working with them now. You know, a lot of these hybrids like pink stripes, the ruffled hybrids, they are making the rounds now slowly, and I did my best to help share them, to help share the great stuff that I have. So in the next years, there will be a lot of breeders who will show all these great plants that then will again be used in other crosses for the future. So there's a lot of great stuff that makes the rounds. Yeah, and of course, people also see my channel. People see the videos, and it kind of attracts them to the hobby. There are other very good breeders around that also post about their stuff, and that is great. You know, I appreciate that. It's a great hobby that deserves to be seen. That should be shown more on social media. As I always say, they should promote it more. Let it go viral more often. Let it go viral more often, and that kind of stuff. You know, but I'm very thankful if you bought anything, any kind of like flowering plant or something like that, or I'm very happy about that. You know, I'm here to help. That is the purpose of why I'm doing that, or just to, you know, chat about these kind of things. So that is great. That's great to know. It gives me like the assurance that I did good. You know, there are so many people that what they do on the internet is just built on divisiveness and hate, and it's good to see that when you are building something, because building something is always harder than you know, posting like stuff that is intended to hurt, to destroy. This kind of hobby content, we are actually doing something. We're doing something positive, where it's a hobby that people enjoy, that gives people something to do if they are depressed. You know, a lot of people go into this hobby because they are looking for something that they cannot find in themselves. Like it is a very inspiring feeling to create something, to just get the seeds and create create life in a way. Of course, the seeds are already alive, but you are creating something by just sowing out. You have a little bag of soil here, and in a few months you have all these plants that you can do with what you want. You know, you can let them get tall, you can plant them out, you can keep them in a greenhouse, or you can sell some. It's also a way to afford. I mean, a lot of people do it as a business, and that can work too. But it's a lot of work. It's hard work. But I believe this kind of stuff brings people together, brings the community together. Yeah, I mean, if you live somewhere where you can plant something out, then sometimes you can forget about them. It depends. I really recommend making sure that there's no leaves around, but because the leaves will create that humid layer. But depending on where you live, sometimes, if it's very dry, often the leaves can also retain the humidity a little bit. It depends, but I'm happy that the plants are still alive. So yeah, try your best to maybe, I don't know, improve the situation, improve the setting where you have them. If there's not enough light, take down maybe a few branches here and there, that kind of stuff. I'm sure the plants will appreciate it. If the plants are still there, it's not too late to really get them to thrive. That's a good thing. I mean, we make mistakes and sometimes we forget about the plants, but it's rarely too late to do something about improving the situation, improving the setup, making sure that the plants are doing well. It's something that I also have to do on a regular basis, and it's a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, lost labels, yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot with plants that are outdoors because the labels don't last very long. But yeah, I've seen people use metal labels like these where they stamp the name into a little piece of metal. That can be great for outdoor plants, but yeah, unfortunately, losing of labels, that's a common theme that you often hear. I have that problem too, because if something falls over, you can already lose the label. It goes very fast. So unfortunately, that's just common in the hobby. It happens very often. So let's see what I have here. Okay, let's see what I have here. Okay, so here's a hybrid with Caesar La and pink stripes. That is great. That is the kind of stuff that we should be sowing out. Caesar La being one of those Verlets follow-up hybrids with a lot of color. And pink stripes too. I like that. That's a good cross. Nice. Okay. I just wish the labels weren't so long with the tiny labels that I have here. Okay. Let's see. KA 2024 171. Caesar La crossed with pink stripes. Crossed with Abla, I think. The name is Abla, I think. The father. Okay. Let's get this going. All right. Next one. I want to sow out another one of those because both of the mothers have great colors, and that is amazing. I like that. If you have great color in the mother, it is very likely that you will also have great color in the next generation. That is something That makes it a little bit more likely than when you're using a colorful hybrid as a father. Okay. Let's do it here. Zack. Next one. Next label. Okay. KA24 171. Cisala, pink stripes. Crossed with Abla. I seriously consider putting up a page to just keep up with all the names. But at the moment, I'm still in too much of work, personal work and that stuff, but I seriously consider doing that. Just because nobody knows which names have been taken by now and which ones aren't. I really think there needs to be a publicly available database, and I will probably do it. I wanted to do it in the past, but I felt like I was doing all the work. It was just too much work eventually, but I want to do that probably at some point. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if there are even at that point, if websites are still even a thing, like the way they have been in the past, because a lot of the developments in the online landscape, they move towards apps. They move towards that kind of stuff, you know, like networks where people post. It has become less and less. It has become harder to be seen with a web page, with just the classic web page. Also because a lot of the web pages are no longer really shown in Google. I mean, Google, it has become more difficult to be seen at the first page on Google. I think they have decreased the number of results that they are showing on the first page. So people need to go way back to find someone, and that is they are often not doing it. So in my opinion, it is definitely possible that classic web pages, the way we used to know them, will at some point be replaced by just apps. It wouldn't change anything, but it would still make it harder to maintain a site where you regularly update names and these things, you know. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's all a lot of work. That's what I realized with my website that I built. It's a lot of work, and in the end, in the search results, on the first pages, there are just companies who play around with SEO, who know how to bypass stuff, like to be found more, like to be found more often on the first results. And the pages who really have in-depth knowledge, they are often way behind. And I really think that's the problem. I really think they should get back to valuing quality content and extensive large databases. That kind of stuff is very hard to build. It is built over many years, and when you compete on the internet, on search results, on search engines, and they only show like very shallow copy pages on the first results, then you know something isn't right. Then you know there needs to be some kind of update to the algorithm, whatever. Because good, like in-depth work, making sure creating big databases should be like rewarded, you know. So my website, where I have all these plant photos, all these cactus photos, it is huge by now. So it loads a little bit slower. It takes a little bit longer to load. And for search engines, they don't like that when a web page loads a little bit longer. So my website has been pushed way back in the search results, but so many people use my website as main resource. And I think the fact that websites like mine, when you search for let's say Trichocereus, when you search for that genus, and my website isn't among the first 5, that should tell you something about the quality of the search results. So I personally think they should work harder on that. Should get back to reward the people who have built these big pages that they might need a little bit longer to load, but it's because they are full of like unique photos that are nowhere else to be found, you know? So yeah, that's why I stopped putting a lot of energy into my website. I just realized I would put all this stuff out there, do all the work, and it wasn't like I wasn't seeing results for it. I was on Google still having trouble staying in the top 5 position, and yeah, that's when I realized, okay, maybe I should put my energy into doing videos the way I do it now, or other stuff, you know. And it led me here. If I would still do the website the way I did, I would probably not have the time to do this, what we're doing now on the channel. Yeah, Google has high expectations. That is true. But even that, I mean, most of the websites that are on the internet, they already have like they are already how does it encrypted? You know, they already have encryption. They are already running the newest software, but it's just that it has it has become very hard to compete with pages that just build their content to please a search engine. There are a lot of pages that just copy whatever you did, write it in a way that search engines understand it a little bit easier, and they are found first. You know, they are on the first positions in the search results, and that is a problem because in the past they rewarded pages when they were, for example, when they were an authority in the subject. There are some pages that just have so much content that a lot of people use them long term, you know, and that was always the case with my page. And at some point, they stopped respecting these kind of pages. They started preferring pages who just copy the content in a way that makes it easier to be found on Google. Their goal is not to provide an in-depth database. Their goal is just to earn a little bit of money with clicks, with advertising. And I mean, I use advertising to fund the hobby because it is so expensive, but it's not comparable to people who just build web pages. They build 100 web pages and put ads on all of them, you know. It's a different way to earn money, and I believe the people who create the content, who are out there, they should be on the first results in sites, like in search engines in general, you know. They should be found first, and they haven't been doing it. I don't know, like they have started to change the rules a little bit. At least that's how it feels to me. And I really hope they will get back to rewarding people who create a lot of stuff. Who I mean, my website, it's so big that it loads, that it takes a second or two longer to load, and that's a problem, you know. But the only way I could like make it better, I could remove the high resolution images and could replace them with tiny images, and that is not an option for me because I want them to have full size, because that's how the website always was. I don't want to downgrade it now at this point to be found on a search engine. I stopped looking at search engine traffic like 5 years ago. I feel like they lost me. I feel like there was a point where I tried to improve the website to get them to all the standards that they were expecting, and then I was seeing a lot of poor quality results in the first spots. I felt like everything I did keeping a website free of all that, of everything, dodgy stuff, everything dodgy. My website always used to be very basic, a search where you can search the database, and a huge menu where you can go to every single species and can look at the species and the description and the photo, and the menu is already so big that it takes a while to load, and that is stuff that they don't like on these search engines. So I felt like, okay, then there's nothing I can do, because that it's just such a big website, But yeah, times are changing. I mean, I'm not against change, which you can see why I'm here doing stream. I mean, I never did stream in the past. That is something that I just started maybe 3 weeks ago. But I feel like I have always used this feature. Feels great doing it, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that is my situation with the website. The website is still there, but I'm not sure if how we do it long term. At some point, if it becomes more and more difficult to be found, I might put the content in an ebook. That kind of stuff's easier sometimes. Just put it on all the platforms and that's it. I'm moving more and more towards ebooks, because right now they are easier for me to fund. Printing just has a high cost of entry, and a lot of book printers are doing poorly. I just saw that a big book printer in Germany is having issues, or in Austria. I'm not sure where if they're in Germany or Austria, but a big book publisher from the community having issues. The book printers are in real trouble too. Everyone who used to do stuff in the real world, apart from like the hardcore work that people do, like construction and that stuff, where they still need you for, but a lot of industries are doing poorly right now. Okay, so now we've sown these out. I planted not many, just a few different kinds of seeds. I think 3 different kinds of seeds, but the ones I planted look pretty good. And yeah, now I move these aside, and I want to check on the seedlings that we planted recently. Want to see if we now have more seedlings, so let me get those. Okay, so these are containers that we planted in the last couple of weeks. Here's one that has seedlings. This one already has seedlings. This one has seedlings. We're doing really nice. There's some progress here. I was already worried last time because I couldn't see a lot of seedlings, but now here are some, but it needs more time. Oops, hoppla. Oops. So let's see what's here. 2 seedlings, that's not enough. Okay. Yeah, we have seedlings in 3 containers. That is okay. Not great, not terrible. Okay. So let's check on those. It's usually the Uvekale seeds that come up very fast. I think of all the breeders that I have gotten seeds, I think Uve's crosses are the ones that have influenced me the most over the last years. that have influenced my style of breeding, because I have a lot of his plants, and yeah, they're just very good. And I try to combine them with the kind of stuff that I bring to the table. Maybe trying to create crosses with other species that haven't been used so often. Chiloensis, or maybe Taiensis. These kinds of species, they could produce some amazing offspring. And yeah, so I try to combine the flower side from Uvis hybrids and the columnar stuff that I've been doing in the past. So yeah, the first kind of seedlings that we got, and they look great. Seeds have been sprinkled on top of the soil, and there's so many seedlings. If you grow these to adulthood, this will mean a lot of work just transplanting these when they are big in maybe a year or already in a half a year. We'll see how it goes. But we can put these under the lamp. This will go under the lamp. So let me see here. So yeah, and welcome to everyone that's joined us in the stream and in the chat. If you have questions, write them in the comments. If not, we're just continuing with the sowing out. So these are tiny. They just came up just a few days ago, but I already see that most of the seeds have started to germinate. Once you have the germination started, there's very little that can stop them, apart from heat, water, cold, or pressure that's being put on top of them. So they will go under the lamp right away. Okay, so here are more seedlings. Yeah, these are from besides the oven where I've been sowing out. And I commented this morning, someone sent in a comment to talk about the way I induced germination with the wood oven now. I want to say that's not a method really that I'm using. I mean, the heat source that you use to induce germination, it doesn't matter what you use. You can use a electrical heater, you can use a heat pad, you can use a wood oven like I do, or you could use a classic heater, radiator, whatever they are called. It doesn't have to be a wood oven, and it's probably safer not to do it with a wood oven. I mean, I do it in a way where it's safe, but always be careful, when you're sowing out, when you're placing stuff in front of an oven, make sure that you're not creating a fire hazard, that kind of stuff. But apart from that, I mean, the heat source, whatever heat source you use, as long as you meet the right temperature, the seedlings will not care. The seedlings will be all right no matter what. So yeah, let me see if I can find a few more. Maybe a few more seedlings that we can check on and move under the lamps. But I would have to step away from the camera for just a minute. But I will be back. I will just check on the stuff here. Let me see. Here. Nothing. No. The others just need more time. The other seedlings are just not at the spot where I can show them. A little bit of germination here and there, but nothing that is really showable. Hey, good morning. Yeah, welcome to the chat. Great that you're here. Even if it's just for short. I mean, we've already sown out a little bit, and we've checked a few containers here and there. Yeah, but I mean, you know what we do. You haven't missed really anything. You can just continue next time you're here again. Everything. That's the good thing of what we do here. You can just go away and come back at a later time, and you would just be able to continue. So yeah, let me check a few more containers. I want to bring them from under the lamp. I just want to see the seedlings. We need to check them on a regular basis because otherwise there's just not enough oxygen in the little bags. They need a little bit of fresh air on a regular basis, and we're doing that. Yeah, we are on a good road here, you know. So far we barely had any seedlings that we lost, and that is because I keep a close eye on the temperature range. You really got to make sure that it's not too hot where you grow the seedlings, because otherwise you will lose them. You will just, at some point, they will look like they would have a fungal infection. Maybe they will turn orange, or they will become translucent, something like that. And heat, that you lose seedlings by heat, that is very common. That happens. That is among the most common problems that you have when growing cactus from seeds. So yeah, just make sure the temperatures are not too high and not too cold. Maybe 20, 22, 25 is okay for seedlings, as long as it isn't going over 29 or so. I mean, I do not heat the seedlings in that sense. I have the heater on to create a steady room temperature just to live in the house. And that is often enough to keep the seedlings going. You know, if you have a room temperature in your room of 20 degrees Celsius, you know, if you live in a country where there's Fahrenheit, you will have to convert that. But a classic room temperature can already be enough to grow seedlings. A little bit warmer, 25 degree would be better. So they are actively growing. But if you have them under a lamp, they will heat up a little bit, even if the room temperature is only 20 degrees. So right now they are somewhere in between 20 and 25 degree room temperature under a plant lamp. And then I'm just heating the place where I'm sowing out. I'm heating the ones that haven't come up yet. And there's, of course, the heat also goes to the seedlings, you know, but for the seedlings that have already come up, it's not so important to reach these high numbers. In fact, it can actually be dangerous. That is why I instantly take the seedlings from the oven, bring them here, we check them on the camera, and move them to the lamp. And the lamp is located another room further away, because with that you avoid having too much heat on the seedlings. Temperatures for the seedlings should really not get over 30 degrees or 29. Should be around 29 at the most. The further you go over 29, 30, 31, 32, you will have a problem, because every now and then you will just see seedlings disappearing, and you will not know that it's from the heat. You will suspect it was from a fungal infection, or maybe something, you know. You will just see a seedling that you lost, and very often it's caused by too much heat. That is a mistake I often did in the beginning. You know, I was growing all these cool seeds, and then I would put them in full sun, and I would not realize that when I would lose them, I lose them because of the sun, you know, because every now and then when you lose a seedling, it can look like a fungal infection. And people often identify stuff like heat, like dying from heat and that stuff for a seedling. They treat that stuff like fungal infections. You know, they see the damage that it causes, that the seedling turns orange or something like that, and they suspect that a fungal infection caused it. But what actually happened is too much heat caused the seedling to expire, and then you have decaying organic matter, and the fungal infection sits itself on top of it, because you just have decaying organic material in a closed bag, and of course it will attract the spores and everything, like a moth to a flame. It will look like it's a fungal infection, but it's actually just lost due to heat. Okay, take care. Thank you for being here. We'll be back tomorrow. I mean, I'm not doing forever today either. I got to work on the window again today. So yeah, but I will be back tomorrow again too. So yeah. So yeah, more seedlings. And they are looking great. I'm very happy with the way they are starting to develop. Oh, but here's a fungus gnat. I hate seeing that. Here's a fungus gnat. Oh my god. That came out of the bag. I hate them. My opinion of hydro or outside grow. Well, hydro it can be great. I mean, you just do it right. You know, the plants need nutrients, and if you give it to them, you can grow like that. You know, you you can grow cacti in hydro too. For example, when I have plants in smaller pots in my greenhouse, that only works when you water a lot, when you provide a lot of water, when you provide a lot of nutrients, and that is kind of a little bit like hydro. So that can definitely work. I'm not using it, but I can see that being a great replacement if you know what you do. And outdoor, I mean, outdoor's the best if you have the right climate. I don't have it, unfortunately, but if there's no hard frost or something like that, and or no months that are only rain, can be great, can be amazing. I would love to plant out in the garden, but unfortunately, it's just where I live. It's not an option because of the rain. But yeah, and I experimented with hydro a little bit in the past. I had that expanded clay kind of material that you can use as a medium. Yeah, I mean, look, it really depends on if you are able to bring in all the nutrients. You know, if you're using a fertilizer that has really everything, including micronutrients and stuff that sometimes is missing in the cheaper fertilizers, then that can be great. In fact, I mean, it is sometimes better because you avoid because that medium is often fast draining. You know, you often avoid that a medium stays too wet for too long. You can get a medium to get dry very fast if it needs to be dry. It is a little bit less. It can cause less problems with stuff like fungus gnats, like I said right now. You know, there was a fungus gnat in the closed bag, so that is a bad sign, and you can have a lot of other problems. Like, I don't know if mealybug and hydro, if that is a combination, that's still a problem. Yeah, the rain is a huge problem. When you plant something outdoors where I live, the temperatures wouldn't be the biggest deal breaker. The biggest deal breaker is the constant rain that we have. And now that the climate shifts a little bit, and the climate has shifted where I live, because I know that maybe 20 years ago we got these really cold winters with snow, and the summers were drier. Where I live, the last 3-4 summers, there were 3 months of rain in summer very often. You know, there was this excessive heat, and then it went into a season of just months of extreme rain, and that is too much for cacti. Like, especially when the temperatures go low, then you have maybe a little bit of frost, a little bit of ice rain. everything that is smaller can take that. Larger plants can sometimes take it, but I lost so many plants this year just because of the rain. The rain is a huge problem, and the more rain you get, the more difficult it will be to have an outdoor plant thrive. And it's worth to try it with the Ecuadorian plants, with the columns that are used to more humidity. Ecuadorian, maybe Peruvian, because they have this misty kind of foggy weather that they can thrive in. But it's a problem for cacti in general. Building a roof using something that you can move when it's raining for very long can help you a lot there. I don't know. We have the dry weather now. We have excessive heat, 2 months, and then it's in a way where you barely make it through, and then suddenly we get so much rain it's flooding the whole town. The area where I live, we never had so many problems with flooding than we had in the last years. Few years ago, the whole street was flooded below. And I am lucky because I'm a little bit higher on the mountain. I looked down and it was like there was just like a sea, like a little ocean below my house. And we haven't had that kind of climate in the past. So when you're growing cacti, that is something you need to keep in mind. Maybe it gets better again. Hopefully, would be great, but maybe not. Maybe this is here to stay. So plan everything you planned out. I mean, maybe some of the invasive kind of cacti can take it, like Scholla. These like Opuntia kind of plant. They can sometimes maybe take that kind of conditions because they are so hardy. But everything else, I had so many spots on my plants this year. I was very unhappy. I looked and it was weeks of rain. You cannot really do much when it's raining like that. So it was a very unhappy time for me this year. And I hope it's getting better again. It's not fun to work like that. So yeah. Okay, let me get some more seedlings. Florida humidity. Yeah, I've been asked about growing cacti in Florida, and when I was asked back then, I said, look, I have no idea how much rain you get where you live in Florida, but generally speaking, it is difficult. I know a friend in Florida, and they've been flooded maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure when it was, but when it was so bad, and it is, yeah, I mean, it's a super difficult kind of climate, but it can work. It depends on your setup. If you can protect the plants from the rain, that means a lot. That really means a lot. If the rain isn't hitting the plants directly, maybe a roof that you can just put over them for maybe 2 months or so, 3 months when it's raining, it could help. But I have never worked in the climate in Florida. I know my climate, and where I live, we get winters that go down to -15 Celsius, maybe a little. Also, it's further below freezing. It's really cold. But most of the time, it's wet. Most of the time, it's around freezing temperature, freezing point, and wet. And that is the winter here. And I planted out cacti in the past, and they often had problems with the constant rain. It's unfortunately, but my grandmother has an Opuntia in her garden that is thriving for years now. One of those American Opuntia, like Opuntia fecunta, I think is it, that takes that hard frost down to -25 or so. That is a great plant for planting out. Yeah, but if you want to plant it, I would be interested to hear how it goes if you ever manage to plant something out. It's worth to try it, but try it with one plant. Don't try it with the whole collection. Try it with one plant and see how it goes. If that works, within the first 2 years, you might have a good spot. because sometimes you might just have the right amount, you know. But the way I've heard about Florida, I think maybe not. So yeah, let me get a few more seedlings that we will check on. So I just saw that Kami, the cat, has eaten a hole into my plastic bag. Over here. I saw her sitting there, and I don't know why cats do that, why cats sometimes feel attracted to plastic, why they start licking plastic. The way I read it is that they get sick, like that when they get sick, it helps them because I don't know why. But yeah, we need to replace that bag. I mean, I'm not bothered because of the bag. Kami is allowed to do that, you know, but I don't want her to eat plastic. I'm sure that's not really healthy. So yeah, we need to replace that bag because otherwise it would stop the germination. And there's only one seedling in here. Let me see what kind of seeds these are. Oh man, I already do not get the label out again. It's way down in the pot. I hate that. Always happy to help. If you are unsure, I want to do this stream on a regular basis, roughly around the same time, just talking about everything. Not only cacti, because if I would only talk about cacti, I would be bored. I'm at a point in my life where sometimes every now and then, you know, I rant off topic. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of vintage kind of collecting and stuff, and this is basically my my studio that I had to film the vintage videos. But right now I've taken a break from the vintage stuff because I'm currently just not in the right space in life to walk around on flea markets. You know, it always costs money, and right now all my money goes back into I'm just in a divorce, getting divorced soon. Just got to make sure that everything goes all right, that the house, that I can pay for the house and everything. So I had to take a step back a little from the vintage hobby, but I want to get back to it again. I just enjoy collecting vintage toys, clothes, movies. You know, I have all these VHS tapes, that kind of stuff. You know, I like that. I'm a film fan, movie fan, and that has been my original passion. You know. So the background isn't really it wasn't really planned, you know. It just happened because I had the choice to stream from upstairs in the office or here, and here it is warmer. It's more comfortable, you know, having a wood oven. We're making a little fire every time. It just creates a nice little environment here. It's a little bit better here. And I didn't want to put a poster. I thought about what kind of a poster I would put in the background if it weren't for movie stuff, like just for the Cactus channel. And the only poster that I had, like Cactus poster, is a poster of my own book. And I didn't want to put a poster of myself behind me. I felt that was kind of goofy, you know? So I left the posters up. My favorite Jaws movie, I mean, the first one is the best movie, you know, but I have a soft spot for that one, for that bad one, for the worst of the worst, you know. Like that movie's so bad, you know, and it has a special place in my heart because I always watched it when I was a child, and at that time they were showing it in two different versions. One where Michael Caine survived, I think, and another one where he didn't, or something like that, you know. Yeah, third is great too. I actually have a lot of the original 3D glasses from the third movie that they handed out when it was in theater. I have a few of these that I kept, and that movie is really fun. But yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of movie that you watch because it's great. You watch it because every now and then something makes absolutely no sense. And that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy today. I grew up with trauma movies. I don't have to have like a good movie to enjoy myself. I can watch trash. Yeah, I mean, I have a background. I used to write for movie stuff. I wrote for a movie magazine called Deadline, and I was interviewing people like actors and that stuff, driving around in the country, interviewing them, and writing like reviews about movies. But that is so long in my past now. I think I stopped doing it when I was 25, maybe. And now I don't know, over 40, going towards 50. It's been a part of my life that's behind me, but I still have love just for movies. I believe looking at the world, at the state of the world, and what we do on the world, I think our ability to create art and movies and books, write fiction, is what we got going for us still. Like our saving grace of humanity. If you look at all we do on the planet, how negatively we sometimes impact the planet, but I think the fact that we are thinking complex and create this kind of stuff, this art form, to fill our existence, I think that is something special that we have about us, that is good about us, and I try to stay in touch with that side of me, with that side of my character. I always loved movies. I always loved to enjoy movies and talk about them, and I miss it, So I'm at some point in my life, maybe I will get back to it when things are a little bit easier. Today, how I feel movies are today. I think today movies are made with too much CGI. I think it makes a movie look dated already, like a mediocre, like a video game. And just look at the Marvel scenes, like the Marvel movies. They are like entertaining. I'm not trashing Marvel because everyone likes different stuff. But I believe all the excessive use of CGI is terrible from a movie making perspective, because the brain looks at it and it feels it isn't real. It sees it and you watch it and you are kind of entertained, but it is not comparable to how when you are seeing computer, like when you've seen these old school movies that had handmade effects, practical effects, like The Thing. I just talked about The Thing by John Carpenter just recently, and this movie still holds up today because it has all these CGI. Because it doesn't have all these CGI, it has handmade practical effects, and it was a masterpiece just for the effect work. And today they are making movies that will already look aged in 5 to 10 years. That Gladiator 2, like with these sharks, that is insane to make a movie like that, like, because it will age so poorly. I don't know why they are doing it. And I just read that with Gremlins, the new Gremlins movie that they are talking about right now, Chris Columbus said about that he wants to do it with practical effects again. So I'm looking forward to that, because I already know that this kind of movie will have a different charm, a different feel to it that a lot of these modern CGI movies do not have. Hey, mate. Welcome to the chat. Someone joined. So yeah, that is my opinion about the modern movies. There's still good stuff coming out, I just saw, what did I see? Sinners. I watched Sinners just a few days ago, maybe a week ago. By like that Michael B. Jordan in the role. That was such a great movie. I loved that. and the movie had heart. The soundtrack was great. It was one of the favorite movies that I've seen in a long time. I loved that. I also loved Weapons that I saw recently. I'm currently watching how's that movie called? Like that Australian movie, Get Her Out or something like that. Also another horror movie that is out by A24. You know, like there are still good movies being made, but it's usually the kind of movies that don't have excessive use of CGI. And the big companies, the movie companies, they could fund so many great ideas, but what they do is they rehash all these old franchises, bring them back and make them worse. They miss what made them special, and they create a new version with CGI that just isn't long term, you know. And I mean, A24, I like what they do, but some of the stuff even is too much for me. You know, I've watched that movie, like that was what was it called? Like with Javier Bardem and I don't know if it was Scarlett Johansson, but it was that movie where like that was kind of a metaphor for like I don't know Jesus, something like that. And I was like, I wasn't feeling it. You know, there's some of these A24 movies that are even too. Sisu, I heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet. But I heard it's a great movie. They're just doing a sequel. But I want to watch the original too. So yeah, it's a great studio, but some of the stuff even isn't for me. You know, it really depends. I'm a simple man, I think. You know, I'm kind of simple in the way that I don't need like everything in a movie to be a metaphor or to be like a symbolism everywhere. I don't really like when I watch a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I'm not really, I don't know, it's not my kind of type of entertainment, but I appreciate the kind of like the skills and all the workmanship that he has. I loved The Wrestler, for example. That was a great movie, but I'm somewhere in between. In some ways, I'm very simple. I can watch a simple horror movie and be entertained. But yeah, I haven't seen a real big, like mainstream movie that with a big budget, that really blew me away. Maybe apart from like Blade Runner 2000, whatever, 44 or whatever. I like that one. Was well made, and it completely flopped the way I heard it, you know. It was it was doing very poorly. I wanted to watch the new Tron movie, but you know, then Jared Leto is in it again, and I don't want to watch. I mean, I would probably watch it, you know, but I feel like I'm not sure why they cast him. I mean, I think he's a producer for the movie, so that's probably why they cast him. But I think they should have done that movie without him, because it did so poorly at the box office too. So yeah, big fan of movies too. It's just part of life. It's what we got going for us. It's important to sometimes in like after work, you have something that gets you thinking where you just entertained. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I haven't seen Requiem. I want to watch Requiem for a Dream. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've only heard good stuff about it. It must be a very artistic movie, but I haven't seen that one yet. That one's on my list. I'm still catching up right now on old shows that I haven't watched. I'm watching. What have I watched now? I finished for the first time. I finished The Wire, that cop show, that Baltimore cop show that I really enjoyed. I finished that one for the first time, and I really loved it. Like in the last two seasons were really good. And next I might watch Lost. I haven't watched Lost ever, so I might watch that one. Yeah, I'm watching a lot of series because I feel like a show is more, I just don't have the focus and concentration anymore to sit there for 2-3 hours to watch a movie. So I like the concept of a series where you watch a new episode every week, or when you watch a new episode every couple of weeks. That can be really good. Yeah, I mean, you mean Lost last season? I heard. I'm not sure. I want to watch that. I heard that there was like a big argument about the finale, and how they solved that whole show up. But I haven't seen it. I want to give it a chance, What I also wanted to watch Made Men. I haven't. No, was it Mad Men? I don't know, that advertising show. I want to watch that one. I haven't seen it yet. I've only watched one season and I stopped. And I felt like the characters were also terrible people, so I had to stop watching it. And I finished Succession. Succession is a show that I watched just a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I didn't like it. I hated it. It was too close to reality. It was too close to reality, and everyone was a terrible person. Everyone, the finale was going nowhere. I felt like, they are trying to have some kind of a story that they are trying to tell, like some kind of character development of the characters, and it was all for nothing. They were all just continuing to be mean again. Yeah, I mean, American shows, yeah. It's because people watch them, like Ryan Murphy, like that American Horror Story. I'm not sure. I watched the first season and I already didn't like that one. It is unbelievable how many seasons they are made of that one. And now the other shows with Netflix, like the ones that are like a science fiction version of what actually happened in true crime and like that. So many bad shows these days, or shows that are just pure fabrication. I'm looking forward to Mindhunter, the new season. I hope that they're really doing it. That could be a great show. I wanted to see the third season. I like the second season of Mindhunter. So we'll see how that goes. I recently rewatched Dark, like the German show Dark. One of the best shows ever made. I was so impressed by how they did it, by all the actors, by the soundtrack and the script. It was well made, very well done. So yeah, there's so much good art out there. If you call it art or entertainment, whatever you want to call it, there's so much out there that you can watch, that you can use to fill if you don't know what to do. So yeah, I'm happy about that part of our society, but a lot of problems too. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of these shows really, they start off with a good premise. I think I saw a show called The Watcher, also on Netflix, I think last year, and it started off really interesting. And towards the end, it was the most ridiculous kind of ending that you could ever imagine. And they are making all that money. They get money writing scripts, and that is really the best that they can come up with. It's really, sometimes it's like they are creating these shows on the fly, like that guy from Yellowstone does, like Tyler Sheridan. He's pumping out one show after the other. Yellowstone prequel, another prequel before that, and 5 spin-offs. I don't know. The guy is impressive in the way he produces, but it's also a warning sign, because if they would take the time to do one season right, like Yellowstone, I watched Yellowstone and I liked everything. It started off and I liked the look. I loved everything. And then the story got crazier and crazier. At one point, that one dude was hanging there and a bear tried to get to him. And like that one son of Kevin Costner, he always keeps getting in trouble in just the first season. He get in arguments and shootouts with people in just one season. Like the craziness that happened in one season of Yellowstone, it was insane. So yeah, I mean, if they would really try to get it right, they could make an amazing show. Like, I'm a fan of Taylor Sheridan, you know, and I like what he does. I mean, he's become like this cartoonish version of a cowboy, you know, but I kind of like him. I really like the way he is. I mean, he's writing. He wrote that good movie, with that Hawkeye actor, you know. He wrote that good Snow Cop movie, that was really interesting, and Sicario and all that. Where he wrote the script, I think, you know. He's a good screenwriter. He could write amazing screenplays, but not in that pace, you know. So, but yeah, that's the kind of, like, they're getting billions for that stuff. I think he has now, Taylor Sheridan now has a new contract. I don't know with what it was, like Universal, I don't know, Paramount. I'm not sure who gave him the new contract, but he's getting paid. He's getting paid royally, and he's pumping out new shows every year. But yeah, I'm not watching that kind of stuff anymore. Like, I wanted to love Yellowstone. I really liked it. It was really started off so great. I like that modern cowboy kind of aesthetic, and Kevin Costner's a great actor. I like him, and he was great in the first season. He could have been great long term, but I mean, the script was insane in the first season already. I just didn't believe that it could get any better. So yeah, every time I talk about movies, I really enjoy that. You know, it was a big part of my life. It kept me busy when I was depressed, growing up poor, kind of, in a way, you know. So movies were my way out. They were my escape from reality, where I was living in a tiny place, in a cold house, and it allowed me to learn English. It is how I originally came into the community. I only learned English from watching The Sopranos. That was my first contact with the world. And when the internet came up, it just allowed me to go online and talk with people and have conversations about everything. I think I wouldn't have even been in the plant community if it hadn't been, because I made so many great friends that I could talk with, that I could chat about these kinds of things in life. It always was a big part of it. So yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how long we're doing, but I think at some point I will end the stream, but I'll be back tomorrow, guys. I mean, if you have questions, write them in the comments. Then if not, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm always happy to chat, to have a discussion about God and the world. And in the next days, we will take the stream outdoors. I want to work in the garden, and I will just let the stream run and let it run behind me while we're doing a little bit of greenhouse maintenance and that stuff, you know. I'm trying to, you know, also have a little bit of plant content in the stream, but hey, mate, I enjoyed it too. You know, it was fun. I always, like I said, if I only talk about cacti, I'm so bored. I can't do it anymore. But being like that whole package, just coming here and we talk, and one day we talk about plants, and the other day we talk about something else that is important, you know. I've been having a few really interesting streams where we talked about stuff that was really interesting, like from a, you know, from society point of view, and you know, so I enjoy these kind of talks, and we will do this on a regular basis now. I love doing streams, and I appreciate everyone who comes and joins us, gives a thumbs up and all that. Yeah, so thank you for being here. I wouldn't be able to do that if nobody were here. So yeah, thank you too. Okay, and tomorrow, roughly the same time, I will be back, and we will continue with our sowing out, and yeah, and at some point, outdoor garden work. Okay, thank you guys. I enjoyed it. Until the next time, thank you.